Hello, everyone. My name is Carmel Gilbert, writer, editor, and self-publisher of the book The Hells of Addiction. The Hells of Addiction is an autobiography of my life story while being addicted to alcohol for over 30 years. And today I would like to talk about how to raise boys to men. When I first had my son, I didn't have a clue on how to raise a child, let alone raise a child to be a strong black man. Um, it was very difficult. I ended up with four sons and adopted a child that his father and I was in a relationship, and when we broke up, the son decided to stay with me by his own free will. My oldest son, he was very attached to his father. His father raised him since he was an infant, and he came to stay with me, off and on when he was about 15. And at that time, he told me that his father was, his father, when at that time, his father had met a woman. And when his father met the woman, that's when his father had changed and started abusing him, like beating on him, like, and then eventually the woman started beating on him too. I felt really bad about that. I mean, I can't express how bad I felt about that because I wasn't there. I had four other kids, and it was very, very difficult, very hard to raise kids. Um, my second son, he was at that time uh, about, I guess he was about 14, 15, and he began selling drugs, and I wasn't having that, not in my house. The house rules was for them to go to school and get an education. They had chores, and I'll do, pay the bills or whatever. Well, when my son started liking girls and everything, all that had changed. He became very rebellious. My youngest child became very rebellious. They both was in and out of juvie. My son, the oldest son, he was, oh man, he gave me a run for my money. I mean, he was a constant runaway. I didn't know where he was. He got hit by a car, and that just pretty much devastated me because I knew that his life was going down the wrong path. He come to my house one day with a girl. Her name was Nika, and Nika, I never seen her before. Well, my son was holding a toddler in his hands when he came that day. And he looked at me and he said, "Ma, this is your grandchild." And I looked at him and I said, "No, she's not." And he looking at me like he's upset. And I said, "Van, you and I need to go in the kitchen to talk." So we went in the kitchen, and I told him, I said, "That is not my grandchild. So why is you claiming the child that's not yours?" And he was like looking at me like he wanted to cuss me out or something. And but then he turned around, told his girlfriend, "Come on, let's go." The next thing I know, it was a brick flying through my living room window, and I wanted to grab that child and just beat the living crap out of him. And I told him, I said, "You lucky I can't catch you." But anyway, he went on about his business. My son, um, second son, which is Van, he always had a good heart. He always wanted to play the father role to other people's children, like the girls that he met, until he had his own children, and they was coming like hotcakes. And then he finally realized that child support and fatherhood is no joke. The same with my oldest son. His name is JR. JR, we gave him that name JR because at that time Dallas, a TV show, was very popular. It was called Dallas, and JR was the villain. So I guess that's how JR, my son's name, wound nickname being JR, but his real name is Johnny. I didn't know how to talk to my sons about Okay, let me put it like this. With my daughter, when she first had her menstrual, I knew what to say to her. But when my sons was going through their thing, going through puberty and all that, I didn't know what to say to them about uh, the wet dreams and stuff and everything, or the stuff was coming out there, little whatever. I don't want to say it. So what I did was I put them in a program where it was a lot of strong black mentors that can talk to my sons. I mean, it was like in the heart of the neighborhood, so all the children from the neighborhood can go and sign up for this program. And my sons was in this program. Um, and they taught them the things that they needed to know and how to be a good person, and honor your mother and your father and all that good stuff. But as time passed and they started to grow, my son Van was a constant runaway. Like I said, he just would not listen. And I told him, I said, you know what? Sometimes as a parent, you have to show tough love. I love every one of my children, every single one of them. But I wasn't letting them rule my house. It's rules. I told them it's rules in life that you have to follow. That's just the way of life. Even on the job, there's rules. I wanted to teach them that it's rules in life that you must follow or suffer the consequences. So when they didn't want to do what I told them to do, I said, well, I'm going to tell you what, you go to jail. Don't call me. I'm not going to visit you. Don't call me. I don't have nothing to say. And they thought I was lying. And they went to jail. They called me and I wasn't hearing it. I didn't want to talk. It wasn't nothing in my mind. It wasn't nothing to talk about. You didn't care a flying winky dinky when you was out. Now, why do you feel like you want to talk to your mother? Show me, you know, that you can become a citizen, a respectable citizen. That's all I wanted, because I knew if I was there for them, or if I was, I can't think of the word that I'm looking for. Um, if I would have just like been like, okay, let them call me anytime they wanted to call me, or I'm breaking my neck going down to these, juvie houses, or the jail, or um, the group homes and all that. What lesson would that be for them? I love my kids and I love them unconditionally, but at times, I had to show them tough love, discipline. That's why they all graduated high school. That's why 3 of them went to college. When they came to school, I was tough as nails. My daughter she would make up all kinds of stories and stuff, try to come home. I wouldn't budge, because I knew that they was going to grow up and they was going to need that education. My son, sometimes, I guess a lot of people grow up and they blame their parents for how their life turned out. You know, my sons, like I said, is very educated, but they have issues. My son, second son, told me he had issues growing up because I called my third son the good son, which was Kelly. I called Kelly the good son was because he never gave me a problem. I don't even think to this day he have a parking ticket. He was just that good and would just go by the law. I don't give a daggone what. He was just one of those type kids that any mother would be proud of. Never gave you a problem. I went to his school one time. I forgot what I went there for. But they was like, oh, Kelly, he's wonderful. He's this, he's that, Just never gave you a problem. The same thing with Lasonia. I go to her school, just to check up on them. I remember one time I forgot what how to get to their school. That's how good they was in school. Because I told them at a very young age, the teacher is always right. Now, I know that's not true. But I didn't want them to come home saying the teacher did this and that. And, you know, I knew my children good enough that if something was wrong or if there was a problem, they would, tell me anyway. But whatever they had to say would have to be believable and enough for me to take action. So I've rarely had any complaints about a teacher, probably next to none. They had to have good report cards. It was one Christmas where all had report cards that I didn't like. It was bad, and they expected Christmas stuff. No, boo. When you don't do well in school, I'm not rewarding you for that. You get nothing for Christmas. And they thought I was joking. Christmas morning, it wasn't a gift under the tree. As a matter of fact, it wasn't even a tree. It wasn't nothing. It was like a normal day. And how about that never happened again? They always got good grades. My son, Christian, he was doing algebra at 9 years old. Now, I didn't even know how to do algebra. Shit, I barely could count when I was raising my kids because, like I said, I had very little education. And there was very limited resources at that time for me to, grow far as educational wise. And even if um, I could find a place, I had so many children where I just didn't have the time, you know. So my children would teach me what they learned in school. I remember my first book, my daughter, LaSonia, she helped me read um, Harriet Tubman. I think I got that book right here. This was my first book that I ever read. My very first book. And there's some hard words in here too. But this was my first book that my daughter, LaSonia, helped me read. Y'all ever seen that movie, The Color Purple, where I think it's Celie is sitting in the rocking chair and she reading the book, and she started off reading like maybe on a third grade level, and then all of a sudden she's reading on a 10th, 11th grade level. I think that's pretty much how I was. It just gradually happened. And it took me like years to learn how to write in a way where I could write a book. I had to study. My son Christian helped me with that. I mean, they was my teachers, and they was hard teachers too. When they was teaching me, my children did not play. They was very hard on me, and I know that's hard for, some people to admit that their children help them, to accomplish a certain goal. I'm very, very proud of that, and somewhat embarrassed, but the truth is the light, and the light must shine. That's one thing about truth. Some people say, why is you always on YouTube, basically telling your business? To me, it's not telling my business. To me, it's helping somebody. It's helping somebody. That's the reason why it took me all those years to write a book. Because I wanted my message to be clear, crisp, and I just wanted, to be able to haunt you. I want the House of Addiction to be able to haunt you if you read it. Because if you go to make that wrong turn in life, I want the House of Addiction book to make you turn that right way. You understand? And yeah, so I'm very proud of what I have accomplished. It's like I really don't know. I guess the reason why I'm so passionate about writing is because in the era that I grew up in, children were seen and not heard. You couldn't tell your parents what was on your mind. And even as adults, my mother didn't want to hear really nothing we had to say. So one day, I guess I was probably about like 4, picked up a pencil and I wanted to write down how I was feeling. Couldn't spell not one word, but I wanted to write down, scribble, scrabble, I don't care. You know, words is power. Words is power, or the lack thereof. So, my boys turned out to be good men. I raised them to never hit a woman. Um, and they kept that promise pretty much. The girls used to beat my sons up because they knew that that's how I was raising them, not to hit a female. And my sons got banked a few times because they would not hit a female back. But anyway, that's how I wanted to raise them to be um, respectable to women, respectable to girls, you know. Some fell short in terms of other areas, but as you grow in life, it's one thing that you can't escape, and that's truth. Actually, two: truth and karma. One thing about karma, you don't know when she's coming and you don't know how long she's going to last. So I tell my sons, when you go out there and you do your thing or whatever, you know, and just remember karma. And don't come crying to me, because I'm not going to pat you on the back for hurting a woman. I will not. I am a woman. I am your mother. You know, if you don't want a man doing certain things to me negatively, then you don't do it either. And so that's pretty much, you know, all I did, because I don't want to give it away in the book. So I want to give a shout out to my sisters and brothers, because I wrote some of their personal things in my book that affected my life. My sister Javelle is one of the main characters in the book. And my sister Darnell, well, pretty much all my sisters and brothers is main characters in the book. But I think Javelle might stand out a little more. And I asked her one day, and I said, you know, because my sister Javelle, she was an addict. And she lived with me on and off, you know, throughout her addiction. And she took me through a few ropes. So at that time, I didn't know what addiction meant. So everything that occurred that I could remember is written in the book. And I asked her one day, I said, is you upset with me? She said, no. She said, no. I asked her, is it okay to write it? She said, yeah. So I want to give a shout out to my big sister, Javelle. I was considered the big sister over her, because it seemed like that I was always the protector of her. You know, I'm the one who was doing her hair. I'm the one that was, you know, I was like the big sister. She was like the little sister, but she is my big sister. She's 2 years older than me. Darnell is very feisty. Me and Darnell always arguing, you know, even to this day, because she and our personality is pretty much alike. Um, yeah, so I want to give a shout out to all my sisters and brothers: Javelle Gilbert, Darnell Gilbert, Samuel Gilbert, um, Mark McKenzie, David McKenzie, and Jamie Tisdale. I can't forget my other sister, Silva Gilbert. Okay, guys, I guess I'll see you in the next story time. Bye-bye.